Hi Facebook, I'm Erie Times-News online reporter Sarah Grabski. I am here today on the campus of Edinboro University of Pennsylvania with the interim president, Michael Hannan. Michael, thanks so much for joining us today. We are going to be discussing a number of topics today, so bear with us. If you have comments, feel free to leave them. We will try to get to as many as we can. Let's get right into it. So let's start by talking about this. Obviously, students are coming back August 27th, right? Let's talk about what this school year looks like. First of all, let's talk about enrollment.
Okay.
What does this year look like? What is the flavor? Give us the rundown.
Well, we always have a great school year, a great start to the school year. A lot of excited students to come back. I actually just met with some students yesterday who were here for an organization meeting, and they were telling me they can't wait for the 2 weeks to pass because they want to get back on campus.
Yeah.
And then we have obviously brand new students that we can't wait to see to get started on our programs. Our enrollment this fall will be down from last year, which is something we fully expected. We have been raising our admission standard the last 2 years, and so there are students who we may have admitted in the past that no longer qualify for that, and so we have budgeted in for the fact that we'll be having some fewer students, but feel that it's a good strategy because it does raise the academic reputation of the institution, and we really just want to bring in students that we have some confidence that they're going to be able to be successful here.
Sure.
But otherwise we have, it's always an exciting year on campus. All the usual fun activities with homecoming events and special guest speakers and such that we have lined up for students. We have a reinvigorated student affairs division, so a lot of student activities. We have a student government association that's really excited to do some new programming this year. So I think it's going to be a positive year.
Talk to me about what are some of the efforts are you guys, well, like you said, it's going to be down. Are you trying to increase those numbers at all? And if so, what do those efforts look like on your?
Sure. We had, as I mentioned, we'd raised our admission standards.
Right.
And that was a couple years ago. Fall of 17 was the class that came in under the first step of that increase, and then this class is the second step of that. And we've already seen some good outcomes from that. We have, this past year, we were #1 among all of the state universities in terms of our incoming class having, the percent of them having a 3.0 or higher high school GPA.
Awesome.
We were #1 among all 14 schools. Even though our admission standard wasn't that high, it still attracted a more qualified student body. And this year we're expecting to still be the #1 in the state system in terms of that, which is good. Most importantly, because that higher admission standard is geared toward bringing in students that we know can excel in college, we are looking at our retention rate, what percent of our students are going to continue into their second year and then beyond. Our early numbers show that that retention rate is expected to rise by several percentage points from what it was in the past, and that's the kind of outcome that we want to have.
Right.
But for this year, obviously, enrollment is important for any school, and while we're certainly not trying to become an elite university, because our admission standards, while they're higher, they're not the type that would exclude really qualified students. We are doing a number of initiatives this year to reach out not just to traditional students more aggressively that do meet our qualifications, but also targeting adult students, especially those who have some college already completed, to show them what types of degrees they can complete here and how it can be convenient for them. And we're also doing some special outreach to transfer students, students particularly from this region who may have gone further away to study, and to try to make sure that for all of those groups, a return to this area and admission to Edinboro will be as seamless as possible.
Right.
Between application, dealing with financial aid, getting them scheduled, we want them to be part of the community.
That leads me to talk about, you guys just announced, and I don't know if this has anything to do with enrollment or not, but this Pittsburgh Promise program. Talk to me a little bit about that, and is that an effort kind of to increase enrollment?
It is actually, and Pittsburgh Promise is a nonprofit partnership. There's a nonprofit in Pittsburgh that targets students who are city residents and go to a city public school or a city charter school, and who have certain academic qualifications and who have a really good attendance record, which is important if they're going to be successful going to a college or a university. So we have partnered with them. We've had Pittsburgh Promise students over the last several years, but we are partnering with them to be a preferred partner, which means that we're also contributing to the students' financial ability to attend here. And so for these Pittsburgh Promise students, they would be receiving a scholarship from us of $2,500 a year toward their on-campus housing.
Oh, cool.
Which will reduce that cost greatly for them. Pittsburgh Promise itself provides a scholarship of up to $5,000 a year, which in the case of Edinboro actually covers most of the entire year's tuition cost. So by us working together with Pittsburgh Promise, we're hoping to provide yet another really good opportunity for those Pittsburgh students to come here.
And these are initiatives that you're like looking for, kind of you love, you want to do programs.
We
like
do
this.
Like those partnerships,
okay.
So that we can, Allegheny County, where Pittsburgh obviously is located, is really our third largest county in terms of students.
Mm-hmm.
So primarily Erie and Crawford County, they're very important counties to us, but Allegheny is number 3, and so we also want to be able to do some partnerships with the folks down there.
So outside of enrollment, share with me some more of your goals or kind of accomplishments that you want to look back at the end of this year and say,
end of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing a lot of stuff. Enrollment is a major issue for the university, and so we do have a lot of efforts on recruitment, but we also are doing some efforts on retention for bringing in students who are better prepared is part of that, but it's also a matter of getting involved current students, our staff, and our faculty, and even we've talked with alumni and retired faculty and staff of how they can engage with our current students to really provide the mentoring and support they need to keep them moving through to graduation. So that is aside from new recruitment initiatives, that's a major emphasis for us this year.
That's great.
We're also, with a new president coming on board in the future, we also want to make sure that we've prepared the way here so that can be a seamless transition.
So let's talk about that. What is your knowledge of the search for the new president? Where is that at, or what does that look like right now?
There's no activity right now.
Okay.
Generally, a presidential search takes about 9 months to go through. There's a national search. There's a search consulting firm that works with the state system. So I have a discussion actually coming up in the next 2 weeks with the chancellor about the timing for that.
Okay.
But the expectation is that there would be a search during this year. And so probably a lot of the groundwork for that wouldn't start until September. Now,
do you personally have are you allowed, or do you have any interest in applying for that?
Yeah,
or?
Our very private question.
I apologize.
The current state system policy is that interim presidents cannot be candidates for the permanent job.
That was my understanding too.
So that still is in effect.
Okay.
So I am again. I've been here. Just completed 30 years, and so and I was in the provost position, which is sort of the number 2 position for 5 years. So I have a good understanding of the university. I know nearly all of the faculty and staff, and have a good relationship with them. So my goal is to do whatever is really in the best interest of the university as a whole, not about myself. And so we'll be, at some point looking for a new president, and I just want to make sure that the campus is ready for that and engaged in that, so that we can bring somebody on and really have a positive transition.
So what do you see then as, this is probably kind of a tough role for you because you know that you're not going to be the next president. So what do you see your role as, like a connector, or how do you see yourself?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, again, since I've been here for so long, I think that the most important thing is that we continue to make decisions that are ultimately for the benefit of the entire university. And so when President Walker was here, we had started looking at new initiatives such as raising the admission standards, such as really doing a deep dive into our academic program offerings and making some changes there to better prepare the university for the future. Looking at the whole Edinboro University experience and what do we want students to get out of the experience in and out of the classroom. And so those were all good ideas. Those were all in progress. I just picked those up, refined those, and we're continuing on that path. So I didn't see my role as coming in and making some dramatic change.
Right.
I wanted to provide some stability and to keep doing some positive things for the university.
That's what I was getting at, though.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't word it quite as well as you did.
That's all right.
So talk to me about this. Part of your time here has been doing and revamping the academic programming. Sure. So tell me about that. You guys just announced that. It's been within the past month.
Yeah, we're launching a number of new programs. We did some really deep analysis, I guess it's about a year and a half ago, working with the academic departments and looking at programs from first at the perspective of, are the things that we are offering that we don't need to continue to offer, and are the programs, for instance, that students are basically showing they don't really have any demand for that. And so for those things, we probably could discontinue that and use that energy into something new. And then the second part was the something new. This can't be about, you can't have a vibrant university if you're only taking things away. You need to be bringing some new high demand, exciting programs forward. And so there are a number of programs that we aren't admitting students into. And the vast majority of those, while they're all great disciplines, had very few students in them. And we are launching some new programs, and we're actually reorganizing some as well. A great example of a reorganization is we have always had pre-medical type programs, pre-med, pre-physical therapy, pre-vet, pre-dental, those types of programs, all housed in one of our biology degrees. Well, we're going to still continue to offer a traditional biology degree, certainly, but we created a new degree in health sciences where the students take the biology, the chemistry, the physics that they need to prepare for a medical career. But we've modified the degree to also have a required medical ethics component, which we thought was important. And we have had for decades now the James Drain Bioethics Institute here that we're now trying to connect into that program. And then we also have required courses in sort of soft skill development that for any medical professional, they need to actually be able to engage with humans. So we have courses on interpersonal communication, intercultural communication, some writing courses that help develop that side of the individual that's going into a medical program. And then we've also expanded the options in terms of specializations for pre-medical study and have expanded the number of articulations we have with those graduate schools. So that's an example of something we sort of already did, but we're going to do better. And other new programs, we have a data analytics program that'll be launching this fall, and that's one of the fastest growing fields nationally, and so we're excited to be in that space. We have a geographic information science program, which we are launching. Builds off of a minor that we had, and we've had some incredible job placement from students who were even just in that minor, so we're trying to put a whole degree together that allows students to specialize in that. We have a new MBA starting in January. Currently recruiting students for that. There is a lot of strong interest in it. It's a little different from a lot of the other MBAs that are being offered in that it allows students that want to have flexibility in what they specialize in. So, for instance, if you're either pursuing currently or you had pursued an educational leadership degree, so you may be preparing to be a school superintendent, we can use some of the graduate credits in that program in the MBA program itself. So besides the traditional background in business, you are also partnering in specialization in that area. We have I think one of the best Masters in Social Work programs in the country. It's always highly ranked. Those students would also have the ability to use some of those MSW courses in the MBA, which will allow them to have a stronger leadership role down the road in the social work field. And then partnering with other of our master's programs. So that program also is going to have sort of a unique delivery for this region. Students can attend all those courses face-to-face if they wish, or they can do it as a fully online program, or they can do it, and online can be, I do it when it's convenient during the week to log in, or they can log in to the live class and participate remotely, live, or they can change up how they want to attend the class during the course of the semester. So if they're a working adult, they may like to attend face-to-face, which is an option currently in the region, but if they have to travel for business, they can just log in live or log in asynchronously later in the week. So trying to maximize flexibility.
So tell me, how did you guys rework them? Like you said it was a year and a half in the making. You know, how did you go through every single program?
Very time consuming.
Arduously.
Yeah. We had presented a lot of data on trends in programs to the academic departments, and then the deans and I, when I was in the provost role, tried to do our own analysis of the health of those various programs that we have. We also sought the input from the department chairs in the academic departments in helping make those decisions. And we really went through multiple rounds of conversations, taking input from the department faculty leadership, rethinking the decisions that we had made, coming back with an alternative proposal, getting more feedback. So we went through about 3 rounds of that, and then last summer, really, it's about a year ago today, we had come to a conclusion about what programs we would no longer be investing in, and also what new programs we want to be looking at. And in terms of the new programs, we work with some consulting firms and also a lot of nationally available data sets on what is in demand by students, but also what is in demand by employers. And we wanted to make sure that the program mix we offered was aligned with what were the up-and-coming careers and job opportunities, because that's, to a large degree why students attend a university, is to prepare for a career. And so we wanted to make sure that there weren't any gaps that we were missing.
So we talked a little bit about you're kind of following through and executing a lot of the ideas that President Walker had kind of laid out on the table before he resigned in March. But talk to me, like, one of the things he said was obviously academic remodeling, academic restructuring, and he also mentioned athletics, looking at athletics. Is this something that you have done or are in the process of doing, or? Well,
yeah, a lot of that change was sort of in the works during that time when President Walker had resigned. There had already been discussions for quite a long period of time about Bruce Baumgartner, who was the longtime athletic director, moving into the advancement office for fundraising. And Bruce is a great guy. He had been obviously an Olympic medalist in wrestling. He had led the athletics program for many years and did a great job with that. And part of his job in that regard was also doing fundraising as part of his job as athletic director. And so this looked like an even better way that he could continue to contribute to the university. And so he moved in after the end of the spring semester into his new role in advancement. And while people nationally may recognize the name Edinboro University, many more people recognize the name Bruce Baumgartner.
Very true.
And so he's a great spokesperson for the university. And he is already underway in that job, and I know we're going to see some great things. A different way of contributing to the campus. And then we have had appointed Dr. Kathryn Robbins as the new athletic director. And Kathryn had been working with athletics since she came here many years ago. And she has a great deal of respect from the students and the coaches because of all that she had been giving to them prior to that, all of the support that she had given and the advice that she had given. And so she is sort of our new leadership in athletics. We've had some coaching turnovers, but even in the coaches who had left, I think it's a positive for Edinboro that they left to go to an SAC school or a major Division I program. So I think it speaks to the quality of the coaching that we have here.
Absolutely.
These other bigger schools are trying to recruit them away. But we've made some really great hires. We have some athletic trainer and strength training openings still that it looks like we're going to have some really positive hires there. So there's sort of transition in that sense, but we are still examining, are there any other new sports that we should be investing into and things like that. But Kathryn, I think, is doing a great job and working with the coaches. I was actually at a football practice this morning to watch part of the practice and to give, I don't know if they were inspirational words, but to talk to the players about where we've come from in football, which is quite a long way in the last few years, and what our expectations are for them. So we have a good commitment to athletics. Those students retain at a higher rate than other students. They graduate at a higher rate, and so we do have our continued strong support for having students compete, develop those leadership skills, those teamwork skills, and get their degrees and move on.
That actually brings me back to a point that I meant to ask you earlier. You said that the retention rate had gone up. Another one of your goals for this year, obviously. And you had mentioned mentoring. Anything else that you guys have been doing or that you can kind of attribute that to?
Yeah, I think part of it is we're obviously doing an analysis of what are some of the factors that contributed to a rise in retention, and because we want to make sure that those are identified, so we keep doing them.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
Don't say, boy, I hope this continues. So we are still looking at those data. Certainly, I think the increase in the admission standard in bringing students who were better prepared than perhaps in some earlier years has contributed to that for sure. But we have also had, for the last few years, an academic success center where we have multiple employees who 100% of their job is reaching out to students, especially during their first year, to make sure they're staying on track, getting feedback from faculty where there's a student who is missing assignments, not doing well in their classes. These folks reach out to that student and really try to assess what is it that's going wrong and how can we get you back on track. And that group has always done a great job, but I know they've done a lot of their own professional development in the last 2 years. And so I think they're even more effective now than they were previously.
That's great. Now I know that. So what is the max time for interim president? Like you said, they're probably going to be finding someone this year. The search might be underway this year, but is it 2 years?
I don't know that there is
okay.
a next time, quite honestly. I currently have a contract that goes through June of 2019.
Okay.
That's what my contract is. I know there have been some other interim presidents who were there for multiple years for various reasons. But
I promise I had a direction with that. So I kind of wanted to talk about long-term goals. Like obviously, your contract is only until June 2019, but you want to make the university better as a whole. What are some of the long-terms, and then we'll end it after this, but what are some of the long-term goals that you have for the university? We talked about this year, but...
Sure. Okay, so long-term beyond.
Yes.
Yeah. Really... the long-term goal is to really create to make it systematic at the university that we are constantly innovating and evolving. We did, as we talked about, a really deep dive into our academic programs and revitalize those. And part of the long-term goal is to make that a systematic process, that we're always evaluating things to make sure that the programs we're offering are healthy, that they're solid, that students want them, and also to always be looking externally to see what is the next area that students are going to want, that employers are going to want, and to make sure that we're ready to be offering those programs and to educate prospective students that this is an area you may have never even heard of, but there is some good opportunity for you if you have these types of interests. So that's one of the long-term goals, is to really make sure that the university has a systematic process for always reinventing itself, so that we're always current with what those students and employers want to do.
All right, Michael. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And
Thank you.
we will obviously have, I'm sure, tons of coverage running up to school
Sure.
starting. So thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we'll see you later.